Oh, wow. I didn't expect this. Well,
That's it.
this kind of the paradox that we observe in our space. A lot of people hear about convex market and a lot of people, talk about ABM, but when we start talking about the results, the outcome, a lot of people are literally frustrated. And one of the core reasons that we often see is the misalignment between marketing and sales, lack of good joint playbooks, right? And this is what we're going to cover today to give you some practical examples. I believe you didn't come to listen to a CRA about account-based marketing. So, that being said, I want to ask you another question, guys. Please raise your hand if you think that the buying journey is not linear. Okay, cool. Everybody agrees with this. But here's another paradox. We know that the buying process is not linear, but as marketers and salespeople, somehow we assume that we can create, when it comes to playbooks, we can create so-called funnels, which are like running ads, then, with the gated PDF or gated webinar, and then we involve people, put people into automated email nurturing cadence, and then we send this to sales people trying to book a demo, right? This is not how buyers are actually buying, right? And when it comes to account-based marketing, right, what's the parallel between that, let's say, utopia funnels with when it comes to ABM? And whenever we discuss like typical ABM setup, this is how companies describe it to us. Okay, so we get a wish list from sales, or we use broad firmographics criteria to build that list. We end up with thousands of accounts, and then what can we do with the thousands of accounts, right? We can only run programmatic display ads, and then do like automated outbound, and assume that it would generate some sales opportunities to us. And we have done more than 100 audits with a lot of different ABM campaigns, and we always see the same outcomes. Marketing reports that they generate a lot of MQLs, but when it comes to sales opportunities, it's kind of pity outcomes for everybody, right? And that's because of that broken setup. And what we are going to share with you is how to run programs that actually drive revenue.
Okay, so it all has to do with the buyer journey. As you indicated, it's not linear. We actually took the time to map out an example of a buyer journey, and without having the time to go in all the details, it's actually quite fun. But what I wanted to take away from this one was that it's multi-channel, it's multi-touch, it's back and forth, and a lot of the stuff, a lot of the journey, and a lot of the steps happens outside of your funnel, happens in dark social, happens in places that you cannot even track and don't appear in your analytics. And this is, by the way, just a part of the journey that we could map. There has been so many steps that happened, that we are not even aware of. And that is exactly why we believe in cohesive demand generation, full funnel demand generation and account-based marketing. And without going again in a lot of details, just wanted to give you a quick overview, and then instead of doing the theory, we are going to share with you a case study. But essentially, you cannot drive modern but you cannot drive, sales pipeline without having decent demand gen programs. So with your demand gen programs that are aligned with the way that their buyers buy, that have content that answers the questions that buyers have as they move through the buyer journey, you start educating your buyers. And some of those buyers are sales ready, right? And those that are sales ready, these are smart people, they know how to find and contact you. But a bunch of them are maybe not sales ready. And this is something that we see every day. We see target accounts, ICP fit, several buyers spending sometimes north of 1 hour on the website, checking high intent pages but not reaching out to us. And the reason is there can be different reasons, Maybe they get a critical question from a colleague, they may not yet be sales ready, whatever the reason is. This is actually where we start with the account-based marketing, with account segmentation, warm-up, buyer research, personalized marketing to those accounts. Again, we're going to share a lot of examples, especially on how we orchestrate this between marketing and sales. What are the shared playbooks? What are the individuals' playbooks for marketing and sales? We're going to dive into all of that. But
Yeah, and that being said, so that was like a theoretical model, and just to wrap it up quickly, here's how it's aligned with account-based marketing, right? We have several core pillars when it comes to ABM. First one is account list building, basically how we develop our list of accounts that are likely to buy our product, right? And obviously, we do demand generation. We can talk about brand awareness, inbound opportunities, etc. But in relation to ABM, the goal of demand generation programs is to develop a pool of companies that demonstrate a specific level of engagement, right, and they fit our ideal customer profile. So ABM doesn't create awareness. ABM captures that demand and helps to generate opportunities. The next step is account and buyer research, right, when we dive deeply into account needs, see how a product fits specific needs of specific account, and then ultimately we are selling to people, right? We are not selling to companies. Different people, let's say the higher we are going, the bigger are the companies that we are prospecting, right? The more people would be involved into buying decision. And they have different roles, they have different KPIs, they have different challenges, and hence we need to personalize our offer, right, the way that it was resonate with these people. Now when we finish that part, we have warm up how we can make sure that these people are aware of our offer, of our value, right? And then the distribution of our personalized solution, how we are going to activate these people. In a lot of cases, as I told, so this is limited to programmatic display ads and email outbound, right, called corner intelligence. It is, right, but it's way more, let's say, you have way more ways to do it more efficiently. And hence, to wrap up theory, we are going to show the practical case study how it looks like, the implementation of this model looks like in real life. So 5 how-tos we need to consider. How do we select the accounts? How do we personalize our offer? How do we warm up the buying committee? How do we activate target accounts? And the last part, which is missed in most cases, right? How do we launch accounts that are not sales ready? Because the fact that we decided to market specific accounts right now doesn't mean that they are ready to buy right now. So that being said, let's move to the practical stuff.
All right, so here's the case study, and the first step and first question that we had, how do we select accounts for ABM? And of course, you need to have your ICP, and beyond just the firmographics and technographics criteria, you want to identify specific criteria and characteristics that will help you identify those accounts that are likely to have the need and that you can actually reasonably win and retain for a long time, right? So, and the other point that I want to share with you is, where do you get those accounts from? Do you get them from ZoomInfo? Do you get them from these databases? Well, actually, or like in a lot of cases, let's just go for the biggest accounts in the territory, which is essentially a wish list, right? Well, the way that we do account-based marketing, what we see works is looking at the sources of intent data, especially your own intent data, and I'll show in a moment exactly one example, and then also your demand generation programs. But the most important thing to realize there is that it's not just somebody, attending a webinar, downloading a piece of content that you then send to ABM or to sales. You need to define an engagement and intent threshold. So in this example, that we actually had this case study on a live event like this and managed to generate a sales ready opportunity, a sales qualified opportunity within 15 minutes. 15 minutes. We started with this account that we identified, visited our website. What's interesting here is that part of our criteria are how much time do they spend and with how many people they engage. So they spent, I believe it was about a couple of hours, and we had 3 people visiting and they had 18 clicks, so a lot of engagement. So this definitely passed our engagement threshold. And then in terms of intent threshold, it was obviously not just somebody coming and visiting a blog and bouncing off, but somebody actually checking out higher intent pages. And this is how we selected an account in that case study.
So next step, next how-to, right? How do I personalize our offer to this specific account? So once we identified an engaged account that hit our engagement threshold, right, next point we look at the, let's say, open information that we can find about them. And we saw that they were raising money, they raised $40 million, right, Series C. They were actively hiring people, sales, business development, marketing, and especially a lot of companies, executives, VP of sales, and in different regions in the United States, in Australia, etc. Right? And so basically that made us thinking that they have an ambition to grow and they want to go enterprise, and never check their website. And here's interesting insight that we got. So the copy was all about SMB segment, right? But on their vertical pages, they were putting logos on their enterprise clients, which means that probably they were somehow repositioning their solution to enterprise brands, right? And that's why we basically made our final hypothesis that this account has an ambition to grow, and probably because of raising money, they have a pressure to demonstrate results fast, right? That's why they were actively hiring. Next is definitely they were checking ABM strategy guide, they were checking ideal customer profile guide, which made us thinking that they are somehow receiving the ideal customer profile, and they're working on developing account-based marketing motion, right? That became a core foundation of our strategy. So
the next question is, okay, so we now have an idea about their needs and we can kind of map our value proposition to their needs, but the question is, how do we now make aware all the buyers, all the members of the buying committee, how do we engage, warm them up and make them aware of this value proposition? And there are different plays that we use, from social engagement, content co-creation, one-to-few and one-to-many events, direct mail, etc. We're going to share some examples here. But the first step is obviously researching and mapping out the buying committee, because as Andrei said, we're selling to people, not to companies. And because part of our ICP is also a definition of buying committee that can be different from tier to tier. In this case, based on our segment, we knew who to go after. Researching the buyers, we identified one example here, one of the buyers that we identified, which also again kind of confirmed our hypothesis, which was that they are moving from SMB marketing to enterprise marketing because of the skills and the background of a lot of people that we identified here. That became clear, and now we knew like what kind of messaging we should use on this buyer. And the first thing that you should realize, and this is also where it comes the interplay between marketing and sales as well, is splitting the members of the buying committee between the members of your team. So kind of mapping peer-to-peer interactions. So this is, defining the different roles and then mapping out your team members, and some of them can be from marketing and doing some marketing activities, some of them can be from sales development, some of them can be, if it's existing accounts, obviously like AEs, CS, etc. And the first step in our case study, and the first step that we usually do, is social engagement. And when I say social engagement, I don't mean, reaching out to people with, generic messages and outreach messages on LinkedIn, but actually like one of the most effective ways is to start to start conversations in comments and then move into inbox, which is exactly what we did in this live case study, where you can also see, based on a comment that he made a comment about attribution that again validated our assumption about moving from SMB. So this was the first opportunity for us not only to engage with them, but to start educating about what it takes to become an enterprise marketer. And so this is exactly what Andrei did here. And then in parallel, I engaged this gentleman as well by reaching out with a personalized outreach message. It was very cool because I could say that we did it live. He liked that a lot. I just shared a screenshot here. And we used another tactic here, which is co-creation. Basically, I invited him to be a guest on our podcast, so that where we could discuss, of course, their challenges, priorities, and where they are. And I think what's really interesting to see is the power intent data, basically saying spot on, hitting me at the exact right time, happy to share thoughts from the inside, etc., etc. So this is kind of why this works so well.
Yeah, next question and next how-to is how to activate target accounts. So In this case, we always love, and I don't believe honestly in one-to-many ABM. Maybe somebody has different opinion, but I mean, for me, one-to-many means not doing appropriate demand generation. So account-based marketing means that you are doing real personalization when it comes to accounts. And we love to find the, let's say, the hobbies of people and create this parallel between their hobbies and their needs, right? So in this case, the guy was one of the Vine committee members who was a huge fan of cycling. So all our proposal was around how to, let's say, how B2B marketing strategy is very similar to cycling routes. And we purchased a book, which was like an illustrated book with 30 best cycling routes in Europe. And the second guy, he was like a family guy who lost his company, so it made a puzzle of picture with his co-founders and sent everything as direct mail swag, no branded full funnel t-shirts, no bookies, nothing, but something that's really personalized to these people, right? And then because we had their contacts, we follow up through WhatsApp, and from our point, that's the best way to kind of activate these people, right? So they receive fully personalized experience. And last part, which is really important, okay, a lot of companies don't generate, I mean, you can market that way, right? But you might not generate immediately sales opportunity. And what most companies do, they mark opportunity as lost and forget about the account, right? That's the worst thing that you can do. You need to proceed nurturing these accounts, because if your sales cycle long, that opportunity might occur in few months, right? A few quarters. And that's the last part that we want to share with you.
So actually, the example that Andre shared with the puzzle, it was a part of a campaign where we reached out to a number of accounts. And the truth is that the deals that came out from this campaign were about 6 months out.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things is actually what we did in the meantime, right? And so one of the best things are to basically keep nurturing them on social. So in this case, it's another example of thoughtful comments. So it's not about commenting, well done, great post, things like that, but actually posting thoughtful comments that are, think about it, ABM, it's about personalized marketing and sharing personalized content to that. What is more personalized than being able to educate them about a question or about the opinion that they share or the question that they asked on social? This is your opportunity to share completely personalized one-on-one content with that person, right?
Yeah, and the next one is mentioning them in your content. And I firmly believe that salespeople should be a part of the demand generation program, because this is the way how you can reposition yourself from being just yet another SDR that begs for a meeting to a person who becomes a trusted advisor in the space with whom your target accounts are willing to talk about. And thought leadership that could be done in collaboration with marketing is one of the best ways. Taking specific accounts, right? That's one of the best ways to keep these accounts in loop, right? That stay top of their mind.
Now, obviously, there is a paid component to it, but I think just in general, if you look at your demand generation activities, if you look at the content that you're creating that's relevant for the account based on your account research, what you want to do is you want to do proactive content distribution. And that can be like one-on-one content distribution via private messages in conversation. This works really well, but it can be as well scaled using paid, retargeting, etc.
And last point is that unfortunately a lot of buyers are not hanging out on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, on social in general, right? If you're selling to conservative markets or the roles like engineers, whoever, right? These people are not hanging out on social actively. So we need to really understand the buying journey and channels where these people are hanging out, right? So if we can't reach out to these people on social, if we can't nurture them in these channels, right, then we need to find where they are. And there are niche communities, niche associations, etc., where we can continue building relationship with these people, continue conversation, etc. As you can see, probably you all can recognize this screenshot that was made from Slack, right, saying, I tried to connect with you on LinkedIn, but you must have missed it, right? And then the communication is going and going. So to wrap it up, make sure that you understand the buying process, you have a holistic demand generation and ABM model, and you build a full playbook that answers the 5 how-to questions that we shared in the beginning. Hope it was insightful. Any questions? Thank you for your attention.